clicked it. Hold on a second. Clicked it and it's, oh no, it says live. Okay. Yeah, it says live.
We're going to go ahead and
Thanks. All right, bye.
we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, starting with open forum. And I know we have some Miss Homecoming guests, and so we ask that y'all come and speak at the mic when it's your turn during open forum.
Oh, the mic should be on.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to introduce my friend Barrett. I've known Barrett for a little while, and ever since I've known her, it's just been so clear how friendly and kind and outgoing she is to everybody. And I think that something that's very important about her is the fact that that goes more than just words and actions. It goes out in her platform too. So without further ado, she can say a little bit about that.
Thanks, Brett. Really appreciate it. Hey, y'all, we're Eagle. My name's Garrett Ramsey, and I'm honored to be here this homecoming. This has been a really cool process, and I absolutely love my time in Auburn. It's so crazy that I'm a senior and that my time is almost done. And I know this has been a challenging year for all of us. We're doing things differently as tonight, and years have been going on. And one thing that's been that doesn't change no matter what the circumstances are is that we all belong in Auburn family. And so through my platform, Belong with Barrett, I want all Auburn students to know that they still belong in Auburn family, no matter what our circumstances are. So through my platform, I want to do three things in order for us to better my community. The first, that we need to take care of ourselves. And by doing this, we can make sure that we're, doing it with school, we're taking time to de-stress, and just being confident who we are as individuals, so we can go into our next step, which is taking care of our relationships. Really investing in those around us and getting plugged in on campus. We have so many awesome spaces on campus that we definitely can use, even during all this COVID stuff. And just lots of great resources and places to get involved in to build community. And then after that, most importantly, we need to take care of our community. We need to give back to Auburn and serve those around us, and just make sure that we're giving back and that we're, not thinking of ourselves first, but putting others before ourselves. And so I'm going to be kind of boosting up Auburn Gives Back this week, which is a new student initiative where different service organizations are able to come together on one platform, like your AOL and Instagram, and so that everything can stay in one place and students can better find opportunities in order to serve our community even better. So through these things, I just hope that all students realize that they have a place in our family, because I hope that you belong with Barrett this week, because we all belong in our family. Thank you, we're able.
Hey y'all, I just wanted to take a minute to introduce my friend Madison. I think just getting to know Madison, one of the things that's really stuck out is that she's one of the most authentic, joyful people I've ever met, and she genuinely cares for everything she does. I think you can see that in her platform. I think you go and see when she talks about it. She really, really does care. She really means every word she says. So without further ado, I'm just going to be candid.
Thank you, Graf. Hey, y'all. I keep this brief. I know that you'll have a lot to cover tonight. But like you said, my name is Madison Burkhead, and I'm so honored to be one of your top 5 candidates for Miss Homecoming this year. Through my platform, my main goal is to raise awareness and to promote Auburn Cares. And so Auburn Cares is an office housed within the Division of Student Affairs, and their mission is to empower students to continue to reach their personal and academic goals in the midst of challenges and circumstances that life may throw your way. So personally, I was connected to Auburn Cares this summer,
Was there anybody else that would like to utilize open forum? Senator Christian, call you up for application.
Well, how are we doing? Oh my goodness. I think that was the first time all semester that I didn't ask that question a lot. How are you doing? Oh my goodness. I'm doing fantastic. Man, I'm just trying to make it through the end of the semester. Really. Man, I think accumulated this semester flew. Thanksgiving's next week, and I think after Thanksgiving, it'll be like a week and a half until Christmas break starts. Yeah, really did fly by. And with Thanksgiving being just a week away, I figured we got a Thanksgiving theme in vacation, right? You know what I'm talking about that? Is this and to kind of talk about what it truly means. Oh my goodness, that's perfect. That's good. What it truly means to be thankful. Does anyone watch The Office? You know, Steve, oh yeah, okay, there we go. Really, that's it? Anyway, it's a great show. But the very, very last episode of the show, one of the characters, he says this. He says, "I wish there was a way to know that you were in the good old days before you actually left them." I can't believe I'm quoting on this right. But that's a pretty good quote, right? And I thought a lot about that in high school, you know, because you look back and all you do in high school is you gripe and complain. You're like, oh, senior year, I gotta get out of here. And you actually get out and what you know, like, I'm gonna miss these people. And then you move on to college and you live life. But I thought about that this year a lot, especially with COVID and us having to go home after middle of the semester. It kind of makes you think, like, we were in the good old days, and we were living life, and then all of a sudden it was taken away, and it's like, shoot, if only I had soaked that time in just a little bit more. That way I could have been thankful for it. You never know when what you have is going to be taken away from you. My fear, and I'm guilty of this, I do this all the time, but my fear is that we take advantage of, we get used to, and we expect the blessings in our lives. We expect to have good friendships with the people around us. We're used to it. We expect to have a supportive family. We get used to it. We expect to get a good education or all university. We've gotten used to it. And because these blessings that we don't deserve have become just part of our lives, we lose sight of just how blessed we are and how thankful that we should be. And so that being said, I encourage you this week as we leave campus, those of us that are going home or going to visit friends or family, just kind of think about that time that you have. Think about your loved ones. It could be a family or close friends that you have, the relationships you have with the people around you. And I encourage you to just give them a hug around the neck and tell them that you're thankful for them, because you never know what can happen. Man, you see all over, the news and everything going on in the world. Man, things are so bad. It's like, you know what? We were sitting here today, and we get to have some really cool conversations. We get to go get coffee together. That's my shameless plug for the. By the way, I was talking to Landon out there. I will be in all of you in finals week, so if you haven't gotten coffee with me this semester, I'll be back after Thanksgiving. But anyways, I think we got pretty darn good. We get to spend time with people we love. We get to do some pretty cool things here, and let's just be thankful. Be thankful for that. Like I said, we've been blessed. We're undeserving of it for sure. I don't know what you believe. I'm not trying to overstep my bounds here, but I truly believe that I don't deserve anything that I have. And the reason that I
Jamie. Alright. And we go with roll call. This mic is picking up everything. Now we'll move into the reading and approval of minutes. I know that I sent out a minor correction last week. Were there any other corrections that needed to be made to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved and corrected and approved. Now we'll move into reports of our officers, starting with exec.
All right, hey y'all. So a couple of things from me, and then I have something I want to touch on a little bit later. The COVID-19 numbers continue to stay low from the university. However, the university is cognizant that cases continue to rise, both statewide and nationally, in addition to hospitalizations. So we're continuing to keep an eye on that, navigating decisions. That'll be best for the Auburn campus community as a whole. I know some new guidelines were released, and I know Sarah Jane's going to cover some of those in her report, so I will let her share that during her time. There is a board of trustees meeting this Friday. Because of COVID, that has been made virtual. But to follow that board of trustees meeting at 2 p.m., we'll be having the student introduction ceremony for Chief Justice Harold Melton. Not only is he a justice in the Supreme Court of Georgia, but additionally, he was Auburn's first Black SGA president. So definitely really excited about that event. And that was in there's no name after him. Really excited that we're going to get to celebrate that event on Friday. There will be limited number of attendees in person, but if you'd like to attend, you can live stream the event. I believe the link is aub.ie/Melton-ceremony, and I'll be sure to drop that in the chat at the end of my report. Wanted to make y'all aware, so this year SGA will be participating in Tiger Giving Day once again. Some of you might have been around when we were promoting the sexual assault prevention program and raising funds for that. The team last year actually broke a Tiger Giving Day record at 797 participants, which is the most of any Tiger Giving Day campaign in its existence, which is really exciting. So we hope to be just as successful, if not more, this year. We will be promoting the MPHC Legacy Plaza. If you're not familiar with MPHC, that stands for the National Panhellenic Council, also formerly known as the Divine Nine. This is made up of our 9 nationally and internationally recognized Black three-letter organizations, 5 of which are fraternities, 4 of which are sororities, and about 5 of those organizations exist on our campus. And so, really excited to be promoting the MPHC Legacy Plaza as our Tiger Giving Day project this year. Me and Caroline are the point people on that project, and we'll be working over the next couple of months to educate both Senate and Cabinet a little bit more about the council and Legacy Plaza and why this project's really important. But we're really looking to get as close to our participant goal of 1,000 participants, kind of mimicking last year, and we'll be sure to share more details about that as we get closer. But that will be in February, so we'll just all posted, but we're really excited. As far as elections, please continue to encourage your peers to sign up on candidate registration for school council, senate, and major candidate positions. We want as many people as possible to be engaged in our election process, so be sure to continue to post that candidate registration. Additionally, this homecoming is going on this week, so be sure to vote on Friday, and be sure to encourage your friends to vote and get engaged in that. And then last kind of announcement too from me is our Miss Auburn nominee is going to be Mary Kate Battle. Someone right out of the Senate body, so I'm really excited for her. And know that she will represent SGA well, so congratulations, Mary Kate. So one thing I wanted to touch on, and this is going to be a little bit lengthy, so I apologize in advance, but I feel like it's important. I know last week a bill was passed shortening the campaign period. And I kind of wanted to touch on some of my concerns as we go about that process, as we go about the voting process for this bill. I reflected a lot in my decision making on my sophomore year. Some of you might remember Dane Block, who previously served as SGA president, to administrations prior to mine. And there was an election bill that was passed that Dane made the decision to veto, out of looking out for the best interest of the student body as a collective, and making sure that we were having a fair election process, and making sure that there was an equal distribution of power between those bodies. I remember feeling very shocked by his decision, but also feeling very encouraged by his decision and making sure that we we were looking out for the entirety of the student body in our different branches within SGA. And so wanted to let you all know that I plan to mimic that decision today, and hope that, you know, there's some strong takeaways as to why. My goal is not to take away any power from this body, because just like y'all, I was elected by my peers, and that is truly an honor, and something that I carry very seriously, and something I take very seriously. And becoming a bill is not anything that I take lightly, but I do want to empower y'all to continue to push creative legislation that's going to be the best for the entire student body. Or a little bit more. So, you want to kind of touch on a lot of our reasoning for why I came to this decision. To give you a timeline, I did get an opportunity to talk to Catherine. I talked to the advisors, I talked to my executive team, and I talked to the authors of the bill and the code of law chair. So I was able to talk and kind of gauge through this from a lot of different angles, which is kind of how I came to this decision. And I wanted to share several of the concerns that were kind of brought to my attention as I continue to navigate those decisions. One of the biggest concerns is voter education, and making sure that we have the most educated voter pool as we go through an election process. About 40% of our student body typically participates in certain elections, which is a significant chunk of our 30,000 population. So, want to make sure they're as educated as possible to navigate those decisions during the election process. I know one thing that was a part of this legislation was creating 2 days for social media. One of my concerns in kind of navigating these conversations is that this might not be the most equitable approach. I know one thing we've talked about at least in communications throughout our social media marketing throughout the year has been our need to get more students engaged with our social media platforms, because it tends to leave a lot of students out when we just hub the same way that we have for several years. There's some notable groups in that. A lot of those groups tend to be graduate students, farm students, veterinary medicine students, and a lot of those students who aren't necessarily in the loop necessarily all the time when it comes to things like involvement in elections. So having 2 days of social media takes away from those student groups who may not be as informed, who would normally get their information from engaged with people on the course. Additionally, I know one of the concerns that was brought up was with regard to harassment on the course. I actually had Michael and his team, so thank you, Michael, for this one already, to support feedback from the last year about elections. And one of the biggest concerns brought up was with regard to harassment on the course, and that kind of became a constant theme. But, you know, I think we need to reevaluate the way in which we approach tackling that issue, from the stance of, are we really going to decrease harassment if we just decrease the amount of time on the course by a day? And how can we continue to evaluate legislation and policies in the code that hold these teams accountable as we navigate the elections process? Additionally, I have concerns about moving voting day to Friday. I think it works with homecoming because a lot of students are in town and it's homecoming, so everybody's here for the home game. But I have concerns about Free Friday because a lot of students don't have classes on Friday and they don't want to be engaged on the concourse. I think it works for students who are already engaged in campaigns and will be aware of that just already on their own. But for those students who rely on the concourse to get that information, they might not have as much access to that. So I do have concerns with moving voting day to Friday. Additionally, I wanted to touch on candidate mental health and academics, and this is something that me and my team talked a lot about in our executive meeting. I know for me, speaking, and a lot of members of my team, and they can kind of release this in their reports, we would have really struggled with consolidating the week to just strictly those 5 days, and then not having the weekend to regroup before voting day. It is a very, very, very intense process, I'm sure many of you are well aware of, and one that definitely takes a toll on your physical, your mental, and your emotional. So having that weekend to kind of recharge and gear up for voting day was, I think, really crucial for a lot of us, and for the sake of our academics. By cramming everything in those 5 days, it does create a really big strain, especially since 3 of those days are on the concourse versus having the full week. And so I know I would have taken a severe hit to my academics. Had we not had the weekend kind of regroup and allow myself to kind of recenter. I don't think about forever long, I'm almost done. Additionally, I think it took away a lot of autonomy from the elections team, considering one of the executive director of elections is someone who's already approved by the Senate body, but also since the election schedule is already approved by the Senate body as well. I didn't necessarily understand the need to clarify that in the code, considering that's something that It is voted on by student senate every single year, and takes away a lot of power and flexibility from the elections team to make decisions about voting week, based on their needs at that point in time. And then lastly, and this is kind of the biggest thing, was I didn't see a whole lot of student feedback in the mission bill, and changing something as significant as elections. It's really important for me and the other administrators who sign off on bills to have concrete, and tangible data saying that this is what students want. Especially with something as significant as shortening such a significant process to the student body. And I did not see a whole lot of feedback with this bill, and that was something that I was really seeking out as I was navigating this decision, was if there was student buy-in, and from the conversations that I was able to have, I really didn't gather a general consensus that this is really what the student body was seeking when it came to elections. And so we'd love to take any questions that y'all have. And like I said, this was not an easy decision. It was something that I did with a lot of care and a lot of intentionality and tried to be as thorough as possible in making that decision. But I do want y'all to walk away from this feeling more empowered to produce creative legislation and legislation that is going to serve the student body as a whole, and not discouraged by the decisions that I've made. But would love to take questions if y'all have them.
Callie, Christian. Hey, I guess my question would be in regard to your point that like voting day, being on the Friday and the conference interaction, some people rely on that. I'm confused on how we're going to navigate that, especially now. I guess I want to hear what your opinion is on when I ask, like, we don't necessarily have guaranteed, we can't guarantee that any students can be on a conference at that time, especially because of COVID. I know so many people probably will choose to have online classes, even though I know it's being pushed to happen this spring. A bunch of us were just talking to him this evening how a lot of our classes are online. So, like, I guess my question is in regard to the notion that a lot of people rely on Congress to get their information. I guess I'm wondering how can we use that as points against or for when we don't really know those Congress interactions are going to be happening. If we don't know they're going to be happening, regardless of whether the day was on Friday or Thursday.
All right, it's really hard to hear. I'm sorry, I really wanted to be there in person today, but I'm a little under the weather. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but was the question centered around, since we're in the time of COVID and in the spring, we might not be able to advocate on the concourse as much as we'd like to, kind of that, touching on that concern?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you, Kay. So I think, with this bill in particular, since it won't pertain to the spring, I think that's why I was even more concerned as to the rationale for taking away concourse days. Hopefully by next fall, we will have the opportunity to get back to normal and have a normal election season just like any other year, which would entail a lot of in-person events, concourse chapter visits, etc. So I didn't really understand the rationale for the bill, considering that this would take place during the normal election season, or normal considering the circumstances are back the way that they used to be. So that's why I was a little bit more confused as to why we were taking away concourse days under normal circumstances. I hope that answers the question. I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear.
Hey, Cole, will you use this microphone?
Callie, because I guess it's like re-clarify, re-ask my question is, I'm still, I guess, would wonder that even for a normal election, because how do we know that, how can we assert the concourse, especially because I think, we're talking mainly about the daily concourse as well, but regardless of which day it is on, I just don't know how we can say, or how the argument can be made for or against, because different classes on different days. I don't know, at least think that was our reason when it came to, changing the date. I just don't think that we saw a really big, not issue, but in regard to the fact that you never know when someone will be on the concourse. So, if it had been voting day on maybe one of those Wednesdays or Thursdays, I guess my question would be, you're saying that even though, regardless of COVID, that shortening those concourse abilities was detracting the students' chance to see the platform, regardless of whether it was on that was getting at, actually just asked bluntly, is what day then would be that, like, do you think it was Friday the issue, the end of the week? Or was it the Monday, Wednesday, Friday? In that class?
Are you, sorry, just to clarify, you're asking if I had a particular issue with Friday being the voting day?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect. I did see a lot of concerns with that. I think that was probably the least of my concerns. I think by consolidating it, to those 5 days in particular, with only 2 days being social media and 3 days being concourse, would put a lot of stress on a campaign or the campaign team, but also create a less educated and less aware voter pool, which is incredibly important, especially considering with our spring elections we have ranked voting. We want students across our campus to be as educated about as many platforms as possible. So that was kind of my concern. It's not as much about Friday. I do have concerns with it being a Friday in spring, but I'm a lot more concerned with consolidating the timeline of just those 5 days, 2 of which being on social media. I hope that answers the question.
And just to clear up procedurally, the way this works is this will now be our first current order of the night. And so you as a student or as a Senate body will vote to uphold Ada's veto or to override it, but you will need 2/3 of it. Takes 2/3 of the vote to override the veto. But I encourage you, if you have additional questions, please continue to ask.
And I just want to reiterate, my main concern, and this is really what I tried to drive home, was the lack of student feedback on this bill when we're making such a substantial change to something that impacts so many students across our campus. I do have concerns about shortening it, and I've given numerous examples as to why, but I think it was really the lack of student feedback that posed the biggest concern to me.
It might be easiest for Zoom if y'all want to do this.
Okay, McElroy, CLA. So I understand your concerns, and I think you brought up some good points, but I was just wondering why you chose to speak on this now and veto it now when we spoke about it in Senate probably 4 weeks before, and then we brought it forward as a future order of business and an adjourned order of business before we passed it.
So basically asking about why I didn't express these concerns prior to the bill being passed.
Yes, that was his
Was that,
question.
okay, thank you, Hayes. Really and truly, if I'm being transparent, I expected a lot of these questions to be asked on the floor. You know, my job, I never want to impose on students in it or overstep my boundaries, and I fully believe in y'all's ability to ask these questions and challenge the narratives and, you know, figure out what could be best for the student body as a whole. There was a severe lack of discussion on this bill, which really surprised me. I really do read through all of the student feedback. I read through all of the bill packets every single week, and so I was aware that this bill had come to the floor, but really expected there to be a lot more discussion on this bill. And so that was something that was a little bit surprising to me, because I thought a lot of these concerns were going to be brought up on the floor, which is why I didn't express those before, because I wanted to rely on you all to bring a lot of these issues to the floor in that discussion.
Or the marks, so just clarification on the process, are we going to talk about it again as a current order, or do we have to discuss now?
Yes, we can talk about it again in the current order, but you also have an opportunity to ask questions now. It'll be the first current order of the night.
Okay, so that was,
Are there any more questions currently? All right, looks like that's it, so now we'll move. And is that it for your report?
That's it for my report. Thank you.
Okay, I will go ahead and go, so kind of a lot from me, so if y'all have any questions at the end, just let me know. So priority 1, was today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And so today we were on the concourse from 10 to 2 with Marquis Pastor Nick, passing out a lot of gimmicks, and different merchandise that had a lot of active minds and just mental health. So super cool and really exciting. They So we were able to come in contact with a lot of students today, which is a big deal for say that the concourse hasn't been as busy as normal. Tomorrow we have programming for physical health. So from 5 to 6 tomorrow at the rec, there's going to be a free Let's and Guts class offered in partnering with Priority One as well as Campus Rec. And so that to register for that class, I'll put it in the link. But it's on the rec website, and it's completely free from 5 to 6. It'll be on the multi-purpose courts. There's 30 spots, and we're about halfway full, so make sure to sign up if you're interested in that. And then the next thing we also have going on tomorrow at 6:30 is a sleep dream team workshop. So to be able to join that, you just go to aub.ie/priority1, and it'll take you directly to that link. The next thing, and then Wednesday is all social media posts, and you should be seeing some cool, encouraging videos from some pretty famous people on Root's campus. The next thing that I wanted to address is I received a couple questions last week, both in Cabinet, Senate, and then I also in the freshman forum, and kind of like what should students do if they are unable to attend classes in the spring, or if they do not feel safe or have medical reasons of why they can't attend in-person classes. And we worked with the provost office and kind of talked about the best courses of action, and it's one of the pretty much like the best way is to reach out to your advisors. Your advisors are ready to equip you and either work with you. So if there's a course that's only offered in person, to see what class can substitute. So reach out to your advisors. They're ready to help you in figuring out and navigating those courses for this spring. The next thing that I wanted to share, and I'm sure y'all are all aware now, I hope y'all enjoyed the Senate dinner. Thanks to Jack and then Michaela and the rest of my team for getting that. I hope y'all were able to enjoy steak night. But while in the village, you probably realized that the Chick-fil-A in the village was closed tonight. It will be open during the day the rest of the week, but it will be closed at night. So the village at night, Chick-fil-A will be closed. However, the Student Center Chick-fil-A will still be open. So please go to Student Center Chick-fil-A, or there's lots of good programming in Village Dining this week. I'm pretty sure Wednesday night is like a fall Thanksgiving type meal. So lots of cool things going on. But please tell your friends. I don't want anyone to show up to eat at Chick-fil-A in the village and it be closed. So just head on over to the Student Center if you want Chick-fil-A. The next thing I wanted to touch on is sentinel testing. So there was an email that was sent out by Dr. Woodard today around lunchtime, just really encouraging students as you leave for Thanksgiving and Christmas break to keep your family and your friends safe and wherever you're traveling to. Please, you're more than welcome to go get tested for COVID-19 at the Med Clinic. The Med Clinic is also doing antibody testing. There was some mixed messaging. The Med Clinic website wasn't as up to date, but the Med Clinic is doing antibody testing, and you can go to the Coliseum and get an at-home test. And once that is shipped off, with more than likely within 48 hours, you'll get your results once they receive your test, but they cannot promise that. So three different ways on how you can be proactive before going home for Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. The next thing is, Ada Ruth mentioned there are new guidelines that came out today, and that email went out this afternoon. And so any event, no events
concerns in our report, I just wanted to say on behalf of that we are very unified in supporting this decision. Tiffany took this bill. We talked about it last week, and she's made several phone calls to all of us multiple times since then. And it's definitely put in the work for this decision. And just as like another side note, knowing that a lot of you have running campaigns, will be running campaigns, I know that extra day, speaking on the concourse with students, it does allow for like equitable opportunities to connect
Calvin and Kosan. So I know Gracie has mentioned before, and I think I mentioned as well, that our old dean, Dr. Giordano, he did just recently resign from his position. I believe that comes into effect at the end of this next academic year, or this academic year, next year. And so there has actually been a task force created to find that new dean, of which Tracy Grove, actually our senator, is serving on. So SGA representation, that was pretty cool. Also that, I think myself, I guess I could speak on that. I went to the schools council meeting to get feedback on what they thought about potentially attending Senate, and that being required to kind of bridge that gap because we are both under the same legislative branch now. And it's details of the partnership in the code and the Constitution, and I just spoke to them about how I thought about maybe reforming that and having them attend potentially twice a semester, just on sort of a rotation always, a rolling rotation. I just think that that would better build that partnership and give them a chance to see that they can propose legislation the same potential that we can. And I think that's really big because I know for myself, having been on schools council as president, it was kind of definitely a rift. Not something that I think we created, it's just still relatively new. And I think that making that be potentially a stipulation would probably better try and mend or form a relationship with some of the So let me know if you guys have any thoughts on it.
Education.
After education, so our schools council has been working hard to partner with Big House Foundation in efforts to fundraise for them. And initially, we were going to do t-shirt sales, but with Christmas coming up, we thought that a toy drive would be even more beneficial for them. So that's going to be going on from now until December 3rd. And they're also offering service hours in exchange for them to bring items to donate. And we have a couple graphics that I'll send in our group, so if y'all can share those. It has a list of the viable donation items as well as the drop offs and everything. So I'll share those.
Engineering.
Law engineering. So just a couple things from law engineering this week. Wednesday through Friday is Engineering Spirit Week, put on by our Young Alumni Council. So we have pastries Wednesday, popcorn on Thursday, and then it's coming on Friday. Senator Ron Kugel. The engineering party is currently holding interviews for next year's ticket, but of course, because the 2/3 rule, we cannot fill the seats now. So we're also encouraging other organizations to form their own tickets, reach out to NESB, the National Young Engineers, Grand Challenge Scholars Program, Society of Women Engineers, and Kugel Engineering Ambassadors.
Forestry and wildlife sciences. Grad school.
Time graduate school. We've got a couple of items.
Brian, I think you muted yourself.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Got a couple of items tonight. One is anyone that's a graduate student that might be interested in a paid position with Graduate Student Council. Assistant Vice President Aaron Norris, some of you may have done business with over the years, is graduating, moving on. So it's a half-time position, full tuition waiver, and about $17,000 compensation a year. So I've got a link in there for the application. If anybody needs more information, please contact me. We're also running a toy drive for children of graduate students. So I've got the information in the chat there if anybody's interested in assisting with that. And then working on the resolution for consistency and accountability in academics going into the spring. I'm looking forward to a conversation about that.
Human sciences.
May Human Sciences. So not much is new in the College of Human Sciences. We are just looking forward to the CHS International Quality of Life Awards, which will take place Monday, December 7th, which is basically the virtual celebration honoring the heroes of COVID-19. Thank you.
Liberal arts. nursing?
Nobles Nursing. So I'm excited to be getting to y'all a little bit more report than last week. I had a very successful meeting with our school's council president, and so with that, we talked a lot about some of the things that we've been debating here in the Senate and just how I can apply that in my position and just in the nursing school as a whole. I know that we're one of the smaller schools in SGA. So we arranged to have a meeting this Thursday at 1 via Zoom for just anyone who might be interested in applying for running for leadership within nursing to kind of build some high ground and hopefully create an interest. I know sometimes we have a hard time filling our seat, and so just doing whatever we can to encourage that. And so in hand with that, we're looking at streamlining our feedback system and making it something that the Senate and schools council can kind of collaborate on versus our schools council usually handles it by itself. And then we're also looking at for the spring, holding a collaborative office hour where all our SGA nursing leadership can hold an office hour together and just be working through that feedback system as a whole. And then just one more thing to note, one of our associate clinical professors, Dr. Ann Lambert, is running a research study right now, hoping to gain interest on breastfeeding, and so if that's something that you would be interested in participating in, there's a chance to win a gift card, and I will send my email in the chat, and just email me and let me know if you're interested, and I can get you the information you need for that. That's all for me.
Pharmacy. And Batman.
Hey all. So we were getting a lot of feedback from constituents within the College of Ed about getting clubs within our campus registered with main campus as an official organization. We were able to set up a meeting with a member of that office in main campus this past Wednesday and got a large majority of our clubs on the path to be registered as an official organization. There's a lot of benefits that come with that. Don't run familiar with the process. It's a lengthy and complicated one, but it's worth it when it comes to things like using the logo on different for like merchandise sales and stuff like that that we use for fundraising over here. So if your constituents or y'all's college is in a similar position as mine, please reach out and let me know. I can try to like set y'all up with the same meeting. It's been really, really helpful for our constituents over here. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the reports of our colleges, and now we'll move into the reports of our standing committees, starting with academic affairs.
Southwell Engineering. To start out with, I have some exciting news about our diversity, equity, inclusion in the classroom poll. It will be coming out this week over baseline. So I'm really excited, and I would love y'all's help in sharing that to as many constituents as you can, as well as an online option. Kirsten and I have been talking about getting out into academic buildings, wearing the Ask Me shirts and using iPads, which is something that we have not really had an opportunity to do a lot of this year. And I know everybody has a busy week, I'm there with you, but those conversations that you have with students in those buildings are so valuable. And you're building connections and gathering feedback about more than just that poll when you're doing that. It's a great time to talk about the honors college, talk about election law, and really hear what students want. So I would love your help this week in pushing that out and getting that feedback. Additionally, we have had more responses from our academics poll, and we have a first draft of the resolution that Ryan and Colin are working on. I'd like to encourage y'all to reach out to them or me with any questions or concerns about it. We want to make sure that we fight for the academic experience that we want, and we make sure that administration knows what students want coming forward in the spring, and so that's something we are really excited for. Reese and I are continuing to work on a financial grade forgiveness program, and Riley is bringing our lunch resolution as a current order. So that's all we're exciting. Thank you.
Budget and finance.
Business. First thing I'd like to do is move for I have a bill because there's a future order, and I'd like to move that be bumped to a current order.
Is there a second? Is there any debate on moving the future order PSFB 2011-2301 to a current order?
probably should have explained this before we voted, but that's just because we're not set next week, we need to get this money approved. But thanks for asking it. But next up from us, we've got carryover bills that have been drafted, and they're going to be being out of exec this week. Again, with Senate being canceled for next week, we're kind of trying to figure out how we're going to get those passed. We've talked about doing a baseline survey, so be on the lookout for that. You'll have plenty of information. But that'll happen in the next week or two. The last thing is for COVID transfer this week. We had $1,000 that went to Emerge, as well as almost $19,000. $18,867.49 due at UBC. The reason that number was so high, it was like 4 or 5 events. It was 4 events that have taken place in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Hunting on the plains, there's a couple others. Yeah, that's all we got. Thank you.
Code laws.
Sullivan at large. So last week we did code corrections and we spent 2 hours doing them, but we actually learned a lot about code and we're able to correct a lot more than the committee has done in years past, just because of the same process. We're finishing the code corrections this week at 7:30 a.m. Wednesday. You don't really come. We're looking to complete your restructure of the school's council title, which makes the direction of the code. It's kind of like shoved in like one section right now, and it kind of should be spaced out the rest of the code. I met with Catherine Baxter, the executive director of elections, to make sure we're on the same page with all the stuff that we passed in the past. This past week, just like especially with the 2/3 vote, making sure she realized how many sit like the max number of candidates to the US ticket or each college. Some of my community members are probably going to be going to my minute orientation, just going to our running again, to talk about the roles of the center and the school council, just trying to get some more elaboration on that. We will also be meeting with her and the election board sometime this week or next week to talk about some questions that have specifically come up with these homecoming elections, to like kind of transfer to spring elections. And then also, I'm going to commission to call a recess for team meeting. I just think that with the current work, and now we kind of all need time to like actually discuss, but also like in doing so, I want to remind everyone that you're ready for go, and just because someone's ready to come doesn't mean that you should. I just also think that maybe hearing a little bit more from Seth and also like hearing other people's opinions could be valid discussion before it actually gets to the floor and is probably a formal procedure.
We're just gonna wait on a 5-minute recess. Or, yeah, we're just gonna vote on that. We're gonna vote on a 10-minute recess.
All in favor of having a 10-minute recess, please say aye and put the green check mark. All opposed, please say no and put the red X. The ayes have it, and we have a 10-minute recess. We will be back at 8:40.
that, looking at ways to kind of expand that, thinking about videos, thinking about that, to just make sure we get the message out. That's all I have.
Student affairs.
Stating business, really just one big thing for us to update this week. Met with Earmark and dining, like we talked about earlier. Kind of had a couple takeaways. So really the main takeaways that we had from two main things. So after meeting with both
toy haul and provide things such as, disposable wipes, canned goods, deodorant, like cheap microfiber towels you find at Walmart, just anything that you think would help, or even if you can't donate, we could always do some volunteers to help provide for the people who are going to participate in this rough march. They are going to be marching 151 miles. So, and I think we have just under 20 people. Full disclosure, Auburn has more veterans than Alabama does. Just gonna throw that out there. We're doing more running than Alabama did. But in total, we have just under 20 that are participating, which is to be expected because of the pandemic and things like that, and COVID has been going on. But yeah, just want to put it out there again. If you guys want to participate in that, and of course, Toys for Tots, provided by the Marine Corps and all that stuff. We have a point of contact for that. If you guys want any boxes, you just shoot me an email at lds0024@auburn.edu. And that's all I got for you guys.
BSU. Honors College, and I believe Senator Ward is going to give our report for Bailey.
Hello, Bailey Hurricane University, so I'm here on the spot. The survey was sent out to the Honors College, 3 student organizations, Honors Serves, Honors Congress, and Diversity and Honors to collect feedback on works and honors will receive. I don't believe the organizations besides Honors Congress ever had the chance to give their opinions before. So far, all the responses believe the Honors College should have a lower seat. 45% of responses believe more underrepresented organizations should be given a seat first. 50% of responses believe SGA changes the voting seat comprehensively. The Honors College should be given a voting seat after the new system is implemented. So that's all for her. Also, 2 more things. One, I really thank the freshman community team for giving their feedback and all that kind of stuff. Going to our steps, like we mentioned, like we typically do that, so really proud of you guys. And Leah just got in pharmacy school our very own, so it's not bad.
Okay, so now we're going to move into current orders of business, and I just want to get everything right in terms of procedure. I will say, Ada, we had a senator come up and ask me about. There were multiple bills that were passed last week, and the 2 that came after fell in line with the one that you were planning to veto. And so that senator raised the question of if you would be vetoing all 3 bills or just the one that she brought up.
Let me go briefly look at those other 2 bills and assess that and get back to you all.
Okay, well, we are going to, I want to get the code number right. All right, so the bill that was originally going to be vetoed by President Huntley was PSSB 2011-0903. Pearson, are you going to pull that up? And now we're going to, as we would with any bill, open the floor up for discussion. And as I said earlier, you are going to be voting on whether to uphold President Huntley's veto or to override it. And you need 2/3 of a vote to override the veto. So now we'll open up the floor for discussion.
talking to this guy, and I really didn't know what necessarily the issue was. What a blessing. I really didn't know what to talk about, but I did look at talks. I told him, I said, look, here's my position, this is what I do. I was like, if there's anything, any concern you have, anything that you would address to me, what would it be? And he talked about campaigns, and he addressed the horrors of the campaigns, and I assured him, well, look, we did cover that a couple weeks ago, and I hate to have to go back and tell him that one thing that he wanted, we ended up changing their minds on. That'd be unfortunate. The thing about this, I thought it was beautifully written. I did. I thought it was a great bill. And I have trust in us as the Senate. I think we're a phenomenal Senate. And I know for a fact that the discussion took place. It may not have been necessarily behind this microphone, but I know that I had conversations, I heard about conversations. The bill is fantastic. I think that this is an awesome group of people. And I have full faith that we did not just merely gloss over a piece of legislation like that. I believe that we knew just how important it was, and we knew how big an impact it would have. You know what? I think we did it because we knew how big an impact it would have. One of the points that was brought up was that there was a lack of feedback, and I have a problem, not a problem, but I have conflicting thoughts with feedback because we've also been having conversations about survey fatigue and feedback fatigue. So if word of mouth doesn't have the same impact as feedback, then what are we supposed to do if we're struggling with survey fatigue? I know for a fact that during the recess, I've talked to a lot of you about one-on-one conversations you have with people. I'll tell you, I've had one-on-one conversations with a lot of people. Let me tell you something. On campaign week, when you see more people walking behind the student center to avoid the concourse, and that's the only time you see those people walk behind the student center, that's an issue. That's a problem. SGA, we're supposed to serve the people. That's what we're supposed to do. And it's funny how people, there are at least people I've talked to, they cannot stand campaign week. And I think it gives SGA a bad name. You got people running up to them and harassing them on the concourse. And look, another point was to educate. That's oh my goodness. I feel loved. Yeah, can we get some snaps for that? That was awesome. Thank you so much. What was I saying? Something about that. Oh, yeah. Another point was, shoot, I lost it. I got distracted. Educate, that's right, educate. Another point was that we're supposed to be educated during the concourse hours. That's a very good point. I believe that students should be educated on what happens during election season. But look, we do a whole lot of looking on paper. Man, we study paper. We read the code of laws as what it's supposed to be, but I think we need to recognize that what's on paper is not reality. So yes, the concourse, and look, I'm going to speak very freely here. I'm not running for re-election, so I'm going to be struggling with the concourse just like everybody else. I'm going to speak very freely. The problem with this is that we're not looking at the reality of campaigns. Yes, the concourse is meant to educate. How often are you actually being educated on the concourse? On voting day. I'm right here. I ran in an election. And I was one of the very first ones to vote because I wanted to vote for me. I'm not going to lie to you. So you guys believe as soon as voting opened, I opened up the Google form or whatever it was, and I voted, and I got my voted sticker. I thought the I voted sticker would be a deterrent. I cannot tell you how many times somebody from another campaign came up to me and wanted me to vote with the QR code. We're supposed to be educated. We're not supposed to be just popping people off like at the DMV line. Okay? So yes, you're exactly right. It says we're supposed to be educating people on the concourse. Let's look at the reality here. Yes. We're not educating people on the concourse. Not here. Not in the past. There might be a little bit of it, but let's look at the reality. So, what I'm trying to get at is that I think that we've got a whole lot of support from students. It may not necessarily be on the paper, but I think that between all of our experiences and talking to people, SGA campaigns are probably one thing that a lot of people cannot stand when it comes to spring semester. And I'm just calling it as it is. Now, we were called to serve our constituents. We were not called to serve ourselves. We were called to serve our constituents. We were not called to serve candidates. There's a difference between opening up the field so people feel comfortable running versus making it an easy thing to run.
Because you know what? Look, I've never ran in a major election, so I can't attest to that. But one thing that I can say, I'm going to respect someone a whole lot more if they put all they got into it, they don't look for an easy way out. So yes, it may be harder on the person that's running. It may be a whole lot harder. But you know what? I think that speaks 10 times more to how much they want the position and what they're willing to put in for the position. Look, SGA is not supposed to serve SGA. SGA is supposed to serve the people. So we can pretend all we want to. We can look at numbers all we want to. Okay, but look, the students out there, they're not numbers. Okay, the people that I've talked one-on-one with, chances are they're not going to fill out a survey anyways. Surveys are good. Feedback is really good. That's how we get stuff done. But I don't think that our amount of feedback should make great decisions. Because there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions, they just don't fill out surveys. So, again, SGA should not serve SGA, they should not serve candidates. We're here to represent our constituents, which is a point that was brought up. And when it comes time to write bills like these, that's exactly what should be kept in mind. And if that's not good enough, what am I doing here? If I'm doing all I can do to serve the people, the cause, the business, or man, if I'm doing all I can do to serve the people of Auburn University, and then I'm told I can't. I'm told I was wrong in what I heard my constituents say. This is what my constituents told me, and I'm being told that that's not actually the thing. What am I doing here? So I'm sorry if I came off kind of harsh, but this is something that a lot of people have complained to me about. It started freshman year. I had a bad experience with campaigns last year, and this is something that people still talk about. It's fun because we talk about how bad COVID was. The one thing that I've heard some people say is, at least with COVID, we might not have such a hard time getting a campaign season this year. I think that's a very sad thing. So, all I'm saying is, we ought to serve the people that we promised to serve. Okay? That's all I got to say. And again, I'm sorry if I came off kind of harsh. I was just, I was just kind of thinking about it. I love each and every one of you. I love all of our family members here at SGA. Look, like I said in the invitation last week, y'all actually pay attention to those. I said something like, you can disagree with still your family. Okay? I love you. That's all I got.
This week's business. Just so we can provide some more insight on the spill, questions that are raised. I do appreciate President Huntley, Ada, coming to me and graphing all this morning. We had a really good meeting. Really good questions that are raised. So we do appreciate that. So as to the first point, voter education, we're not looking for statistics. Yes, we have one of the highest voter turnout in the country. That's very nice to have and be able to brag about. I would love to be able to say that about Auburn, but I would rather have more educated voters. So with media being all week long instead of just during campaign, formal campaign season, formal campaign, the formal campaign period, it's not just 2 days. The bill that we passed would make it all day, or all week. So it's total 5 days. That would be preliminary campaign plus formal campaign. Also, everyone has the opportunity to go to the SGA website and look at the platforms, look at the people who are running, look at the candidates. The concourse isn't meant to, yes, ideally it's supposed to be for education. That just doesn't
Callahan goes in. All right, so I think I just want to speak this for a second because I personally, and if you guys are graphing this, they would attest. I was kind of against this when I first heard it, just because I thought, whoa, we're out more information to the election week. It's kind of a big deal. It's something that I just want to make sure that, I guess, since we didn't necessarily have this discussion at the mic before, that we do it now, because the discussions that I had, that when Graf came up to our side of the room, it was me, Kyla, and Gracie, and a bunch of us talking over there, I was under the impression that this was almost a first step towards kind of mending that attitude that we created between the two groups. As in, we can't stop election week. We can't stop concourse. And just like Alderman mentioned, that's a critical part for this information relay process, just as much as the social media campaign management is. But at the same time, we do need to address that our current system is a little bit not in favor of the people who are actually welcome to Congress. So I just was under the impression, and the way I heard about it was this is almost like a movement in the direction of we hear what you're saying and we're actually going to do something about it. We can't necessarily take everything away, but we're going to give you the chance to not have to be a burden over the weekend. Because in that regard, I think the point that Ed brought up was that we need concourse days. Concourse days are when that information actually gets translated. And in my opinion, switching this to be a week-long event, I think is doing exactly that, because then we're not having this information. Because over the weekend, while yes, it is intended for the candidates' rests, we would all be naive to assume that nothing's going on during Saturday and Sunday. To hit on Andrew's point as well, I think, if we're going to talk in terms of mental health for the candidates, something that I want to make sure we're all very clear about is that it was a unanimous decision decided by people who are all about to go through this process that was changing. So, yes, it's not a part of the spring, but, we all have the intent of doing that, and I think we know what it entails. So, I feel like our opinions were a little bit validated in that way when we were having these discussions on how that might affect the campaign. And I think there's a bunch to be said, too, as well about potentially ending at the end of a week and not having to go out, in front of people. So I guess at that point I was trying to get around, some people came up here and mentioned, about our intent behind that bill, and, whether or not we didn't want to hear Ada's points because of maybe ego or something, and I just want to make it at least very clear from my end, and just like Ms. Meek said as well, that I believe I at least had the full intention of constituents when I heard this. I wasn't thinking of how can I get an edge in a week to force this down my throat so they say yes to me. I was more along the lines of, in 1 week, to me that seems a lot more manageable and chewable when you have like a singular week versus something that is being perpetuated over a weekend where you don't really feel like there's a set end in the weekends. So I think at least now, speaking that out loud in front of the mic, that was all the conversations that I was a part of. This was fully with the intent of the students in mind. This was not an agenda. I feel like I've been very vocal about that. I don't support any agendas that seem to be strictly in favor of us. But at any point that would be in regard to us, I think we would need to take with a bit of consideration, considering that we are a group of 34, and even the major candidates only make a few more. And while yes, we are important, there's a lot of people that are affected with this decision we make. And I feel like this would be a great place to say, hey, Olive Branch, we're trying to make this more manageable for you guys.
Just one point of clarification. I'm sure you're probably going to get to it. You said, I think I heard right. You said to vote yes, to vote to uphold
2021 given coronavirus. So this would go basically is in effect for spring 22. I'll let Senator Sullivan explain it maybe a little bit better.
Basically what we did is we made the code void, which means that when you pass the bill, the executive director of elections can choose not to include it into the campaign packet. In our thoughts going into it, we had discussed with her that it wouldn't, so we kind of like work out some kinks, if that makes sense. But like other bills of legislation still have to be included, so we already addressed updated like piece of legislation, like piece of code law.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan. Is there any more debate? Senator Valentine, did you want to explain your message?
Senator Valentine, Grad School, based on the number of items on the up for discussion, not least of which is the veto vote here tonight, I would make a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn the meeting?
Yes. Especially in light that this is the last meeting of the semester in which we're, really, are we addressing anything that can't be addressed in the next session? Especially since this veto motion is against an item that's not going to affect this spring's election, correct?
Correct, but we have a reserve fund, a future order that was bumped up to a current order. It is kind of a necessity to pass. And so, as Senator Dismuke stated earlier, this can be tabled, but it cannot be tabled. It's going to be voted on tonight, but I don't know if I have the motion or the power to deny the motion to adjourn the meeting. But we're still on open floor for the debate on the bill, so. Okay. Is there a second to adjourn the meeting? Okay. We need to finish out the motion to veto. Is there any more debate on the motion to veto?
Nobles Nursing, I would just like some clarification on, so I can tell how it's structured that voting day would be on Friday, but it never explicitly says that voting day has to be on Friday in the bill. And then in reference to the code of laws, it doesn't explicitly say in anything that I could find that campaigning couldn't be on the weekend. So I would just like to hear from either Senator Speaks or Senator Sullivan, just kind of what they're thinking on, like, would there be any variability in that timeline or any discretion to the Director of Elections, which I know is like one of Ada's concerns, was the Friday and the power. So just those points.
This speaks business, yeah, great question. This power is still left up to the Director of Elections. Hypothetically speaking, she could or he could choose to have a voting day on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Friday. But it is more of an understood thing. Obviously, the timeline is specific in the sense that it would make most sense being on a Friday. Senator Sullivan.
veto, which means you are vetoing the bill. If you vote no, you are overriding the veto, which means you are voting for the bill to stand. All in favor of upholding the veto, please say aye and click the green check mark. All opposed, please say no and click the red X. The noes have it and the bill is upheld. Don't click out of don't click out of your answer. All right. Senator Huntley, the other two bills that were passed, were you planning on vetoing those as well, or moving forward?
No, I don't plan to veto.
Okay, so we'll move along with our current orders of business. Moving along with PSSR 2011-1601, inclusion of lunch availability on syllabi. This bill is brought to you by Senator Locke.
Here we go, everyone. All right. I have a couple amendments to this, so I move to amend this bill. So I'll start.
Okay, there's a second. Go ahead.
All right, so we just need to add Julie Huff, the Assistant Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Communications, to the CC line, as well as change, what is our change? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Y'all have us on mute.
Kirsten, you on mute. Can you all hear now?
Thank you.
Senator Locke, were there any other amendments?
For strategic initiatives and communications.
There was a second on the amendment. Is there any debate on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor of passing the proposed amendment, please say aye and click the green check mark. All opposed, please say no and click the red X. Keep clicking. The ayes have it and the amendment has been made.
So with that, I'm just going to read the resolution in full. Whereas the fall or inclusion of lunch availability on syllabi, whereas in the fall of 2019, the Ohio Student Government Association, in partnership with Tiger Dining, launched an initiative to lunch. Whereas lunch stands for faculty student lunch, it is a program where undergraduate students can request to lunch with any faculty or staff member, made possible by a gift from Dr. Craig Cam, Tiger Dining, to the Village Dining for Ford Dining. And whereas lunch was created in the hopes of encouraging students to create meaningful professional relationships with their instructors outside of the classroom. And whereas these relationships would prove beneficial to students in need of letters of recommendation for graduate schools, professional schools, or other career opportunities. And whereas since its birth, lunch has been met with great interest from students and faculty staff, with over 100 participants so far, but some remain unaware of how to utilize the program and the benefits that could ensue. And therefore, let it be resolved that we, Albany University Student Senate, as the all instructors, include their availability for lunch on their syllabi and encourage students to participate in the program. And therefore, let it be further resolved that we, the Albany University Student Senate, ask the instructors put this statement in their syllabi, lunches and initiatives on foster relations by providing a meal free of charge to faculty, staff members, and students. Lunch is a great way for students to ask questions, establish connections, and get to know faculty, staff members. To request a lunch, please visit ed.ie/lunch. For the course number, the instructors try to participate in this program and encourage students to also participate.
Seeing it's been seconded, is there any debate on the proposed resolution? Seeing no further debate, all in favor of passing this resolution as written, please say aye and click the green check mark.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no and click the red X. The ayes have it, this bill is passed. Next in current orders is PSSB 2011-2301, Reserve Fund request regarding equipment replacement for Eagle Eye TV student media.
Wagon business. Guys, I've talked about this the past 2 weeks, but essentially, just to go over one more time, what happened was like an air conditioning unit, essentially, in one of student media's buildings where they produced Eagle Eye. The AC unit didn't work, and it caused a very important machine called TriCaster. The TriCaster overheated and is now beyond repair, broken beyond repair. So basically what they need, I'll read it off real quick. I said reveal the following: the amount of $14,995.00 to be allocated to the student media as a reserve fund request forward. To the left, maybe. For the engineering equipment line item, this funding is necessary due to an accidental damage caused to a key piece of production equipment. The existing unit was damaged beyond repair, and the requested funding will be used to purchase or replacements that Eagle Eye TV can resume production. So, yeah, we passed a little bit.
Seeing there's a second, is there any further debate? Seeing no further debate, we'll move into a vote. All in favor of passing this bill as written, please say aye and click the green check mark. All opposed, please say no and click the red X. The ayes have it, and this bill has passed. That concludes our current and future orders of the night. I'll go ahead and turn it over to the advisors before I give my announcements. Pearson, did you have something?
Just put in the chat a baseline survey for 3 questions for tonight's advisors, 3 pointers. Would love for you all to reflect on the year, answer some questions, and also talk about planning ahead for next year. So just put it in the chat. We'll give you all 2-3 minutes to answer those questions. Thank you all in advance.
Jamie, did you have anything? Brad or Corey, I saw y'all on the call. Did y'all have anything?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Cool. Well, I will give y'all a quick minute to fill out that survey.
decision because y'all were elected to serve and represent the students that were a part of your college. So thank you for the thoughtful discussion, and I did just want to close. Didn't want to end on a negative note, just wanted to thank you all for your hard work throughout this year. I know that y'all have put in some late night hours, surveying students and making sure that, especially during these unprecedented times, that students were well represented as y'all were making decisions that impacted their everyday experience. So didn't want to end on a negative, just wanted to thank you all so much for all that y'all do, because it's very much appreciated by myself and the rest of our team. So I hope you all have a great rest of your finals week, great Christmas break, and I will see you all back again in the spring. That's it.
And part of my announcement, I want to echo what Ada said, but first I'd like to say we are going to move forward, and I appreciate everybody that responded to the poll about creating a special committee to look at Senate expansion, to look at culture within Senate. I do want to move forward with that committee, and so I had 13 people say they wanted to take part in that, and if you did not respond to it and you still want to take part in it, you are more than welcome to. Just please let me know. I'm going to, instead of trying to figure out a time that works for all 13 people, we are going to have a meeting after Senate Exec Thursday, so I can kind of lay out my goals for this committee, my vision and plans, and kind of the formation of the special committee. I do plan on kind of dividing it up into two little subcommittees, but I encourage you, if you're the least bit interested, to come, and that's going to take place right after Senate Exec, most likely on Zoom, just because of, if I get enough, if we don't have a ton of people that are planning on coming, we might try to do it in person, but with a greater than 10 number, it sometimes gets hard to reserve room. All that to say, please, if you have not filled out the survey, but you still are interested, please reach out to me, because you're still more than welcome to take part in that, and I'll send out an email either tomorrow or Wednesday, kind of detailing a little more about the meeting Thursday. Next thing I want to say, and Senator Wagner stole it from me, I wanted it to become a surprise, but we've put in the past 3 weeks, we've had 3 2-hour-plus meetings in a row of really good discussion, and obviously we've had a little bit more prevalent discussion topics, but this is kind of like the vision for Senate really year-round, and so I've been really proud to hear all y'all's debates, and really like all of y'all kind of filing into your and settling into your roles. And with that, I know we've gone about 14, 15 straight weeks there. It was again 14, 15 straight weeks of nonstop school and Senate meetings, and so I did want to cancel Senate, or just not cancel because we never really planned, but we are not going to have Senate next Monday. But I challenge you to make sure your Monday night is productive. Now, whether that's schoolwork or working on something Senate related, just please, I know we're all going to be traveling, some people are going home, I know we have exams, but whether that's Senate, whether that's SGA, whether that's schoolwork, just please make sure kind of the time that you laid out on Mondays for Senate, that you're being productive in that. That's my challenge for y'all. And kind of my vision over the break is for each committee to meet at least once, just so we don't lose 6 weeks of work trying to gear up for the end of our term in January. So I've been super proud of y'all, especially the past month. And let's kind of kick it into high gear and finish out the year strong. With that, this meeting is adjourned.